Hold Fast. I hope you guys are having an amazing Thanksgiving week. I wanted to create some videos for today, which is Wednesday, and then one for Sunday, since I will be out of town for Thanksgiving. And so I won't be able to do the live sessions, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity to still get your flow on, even though we are all at home and trying to stay nice and safe. So we're gonna do a bit of a gratitude flow today. So it's gonna be a little bit different than what we normally do, but I was just thinking about Thanksgiving and really taking the time to think about what we're thankful for. So this video might be a little bit different than our typical recovery WODs, but I think you guys will really, really enjoy it. So let's go ahead and find a nice, comfortable seat on our mats. All right. So today we're really going to focus in on our breath and on ourselves. We're going to do some mindfulness work and really thinking about what it is that we're thankful for this year. And I know that this has been one of the craziest years that's ever happened, but there's still so much to be thankful for when I think about our gym and the friendships that we've made and how Hold Fast has really made Owatonna feel like home for us. That's something that I'm super thankful for this year. On top of being able to teach this class, this has been a dream of mine for a long time, so it's really, really fun to get to be able to do it. And even though it looks a little bit different now, I'm really excited to be able to offer it to everybody at Hold Fast. So I want you to start thinking about whatever it is that you really want to hold on to and think about for this session. So I don't want you to think about too many different things that you're thankful for. I just kind of want you to hold on to one little nugget, and we're going to return back to that quite often throughout this class. So whatever it might be that you are thankful for this year, or even just today, it could be something as simple as I didn't have to set an alarm this morning, and I'm really thankful for that. Whatever it is for you today, it is big or small, just hold on to that little nugget of thankfulness. So let's find an easy seat. We want to make sure that our sit bones are evenly distributed. So we may have to move some flesh out of the way there. We'll have our palms face up. When we have our palms face up, it's kind of symbolic that we're ready to receive. So, I just like to think about all this gratitude flowing into us today, and then maybe later we'll flow it out. So palms facing up on our knees. We're gonna have our eyes closed. Make sure our spine is nice and straight. I have a tendency to slouch over a little bit. Back nice and straight. Pull those shoulder blades down and back. Chest is just slightly lifted. You may almost feel like you're arching your back, but we're so used to rounding that sometimes just sitting up straight feels a little bit awkward. Just want you to listen to your breath. Not trying to change it, just seeing where it is today. Might be a little more relaxed today, knowing that we have a few days to rest. Hopefully you have a few days to rest. I know not everybody has that opportunity this week. Just listening, imagining that breath filling our lungs all the way up. And as we exhale, comes out. Think about how our breath nourishes and fuels our body. Now our lungs just automatically know what to do. When we're in yoga like this, our breath knows that it can be calm and slow. When we're running or lifting, it needs to be harder and faster. And it's not always something we have to think about. So it's nice having that automatic response from our body. It knows what to do. Sometimes our lungs need just a little bit of help. So if you can, Let's try to extend our breath by about 1 second. As we're sitting here breathing, I know you have your little nugget of what you're thankful for. But I want you to also picture something that you could use right now. Maybe it's just some peace. Maybe it's some family time. Maybe you need to go lift some weights. Whatever it is that you feel like you need right now, I just kind of want you to picture it. It could be a state of mind or an activity. Try to avoid thinking about material things that we need, but something that is maybe a little bit more attainable, or a mindset. Beautiful. So we have the thing that we're thankful for, and the thing that we could use a little bit more of. Just keep listening to that breath. On your next inhale, I want you to flip your hands over and place your palms on top of your knees. So when we're in this meditative pose, this is a very grounding pose. So we have what we need, we're anchoring ourselves, we're feeling strong. I want you to think about that thing that you're thankful for and how it's given you something that you needed this year or just today. It fulfilled something for you, brought you some joy. Imagine it flowing through your hands and into your knees and through your body. And I want you to go ahead and slowly blink those eyes open if you had them closed. And we're going to roll forward into a tabletop. Sorry, I got a little congestion there. So when we're in our tabletop, we want to make sure that our knees are stacked below our hips and our shoulders are above our elbows, above our wrists. So nice straight stacks here. If you watched my last video, you probably saw that I have really weird elbows. Hopefully they're not distracting for you. It's just the way that I was born. So feet are flat on top of the mat here. We're gonna go ahead and inhale, drop that belly, lift our chin. Look, my voice sounds weird. This is what happens when I film in the mornings. And then as we exhale, we're gonna round that back, tuck our pelvis into our chest, chin into our chest, really over-exaggerate and round that back. And then inhale, drop the belly, lift the hips, lift the chin. So this is our cat-cow. So here's our cat. If you want to imagine that cat in your neighborhood that terrorizes all the other animals. It arches its back and hisses, right? And then we inhale to drop that belly like a big old cow with a nice big belly. Exhale, round. Inhale to drop. Just really over-exaggerate here. Follow your own breath. In any area that maybe needs a little more, I like to really over-exaggerate rolling my shoulders because I typically have quite a bit of shoulder tension, so it feels really good to just over-exaggerate those shoulders. Okay, let's go ahead and come back to a neutral spine. So our spine is nice and straight. And let's just look towards our right side. Feel a little stretch in that side body. And then we're gonna look towards our left. Awesome. Let's bring our toes to touch behind us. Our knees as wide as the mat, and we're gonna exhale, sinking down to a child's pose. So our hips come down to our feet, or as far down as they go. So everyone's bodies are a little bit different. So the goal is not to force your butt onto your feet, but just let gravity pull you down. And then we're gonna walk our fingertips out forward, and we're gonna bring our forehead to our mat. So right here between our eyes, this is what we call our third eye center. So this is where a lot of our focus comes from. Again, if you're not into this stuff, don't worry about it. It all just feels good and makes you feel awesome. So even if you're not into the, this kind of yogi side of it, it's still something to think about and enjoy. So this here is our third eye center. So our concentration and our decision making is supposed to come out of this area. So we're gonna place this area on top of on our mat. So just bring our forehead to our mat. If you want to walk those fingertips out a little bit further, you might get a nice bit of a shoulder stretch in there. And then optional here is to just kind of roll your forehead back and forth, so along the mat, so it can kind of help work out if you're trying to make any kind of decision, or in reality, it just feels really good, and we don't often think about massaging our forehead. So, and it also creates a little bit of movement in our hips, because sometimes when we're in this extended child's pose, our hips can get a little bit stiff. So it can feel good to just keep a little bit of movement in there. So we're just gonna breathe and roll our forehead along the mat, finding some gentle movement in our hips. This also feels really good if you have a headache. I have a teensy tiny headache right now, so this feels really nice. All right, let's come back to our regular child's pose. Just finding some stillness here. And on our next inhale, we're going to come back up into tabletop, bringing our hands back below our shoulders, knees below our hips. Awesome. Okay, we're going to find some circles here. So we're going to bring some pressure into our wrists, coming around, finding some gentle movement in our hips. So our wrists can be fairly sensitive sometimes, so this is a nice way to gently warm them up. Don't go crazy pressing into your wrists, but just finding some gentle movement here, and getting them moving just a little bit. And if you want to sink down a little bit and get some extra movement in your hips, you're more than welcome to do that. Choose your own adventure here. If you just like to really focus in on the wrists, you can stay right here. But if you want to add in those hips, go crazy. Okay, now let's go ahead and rotate in the other direction. And then again, if you want to circle into those hips. Awesome. All right, let's come back to a neutral spine here. We're going to go ahead and tuck our toes, lift our hips up, come into our first downward dog of today. So we're going to walk our feet out just a little bit, stretching out the backs of our legs. We're going to bend those knees, hover them above the ground. Inhale back up. hover above the ground. Exhale up. Inhale to hover. And then as we hover this time, we're gonna either hop or walk our feet up to our hands. So whatever feels good for you today. We're gonna keep those knees nice and bent here and bring our belly all the way to our thighs. So however much we need to bend those legs to get our belly there, that's what we're gonna do. This is my absolute favorite pose if I ever have any back pain or if my hamstrings are tight. You find me in my office doing this quite often. So I'm just gonna hang out here for just a second. I'm gonna grab each hand, opposite elbow, let the top of my body hang nice and heavy. Just feel that stretch in your hamstrings. If you wanna get a bit of an extra stretch, you can straighten your legs just a little bit. You don't wanna straighten enough that your belly comes off your thighs, but you can straighten a little bit to get a bit more of a stretch. Again, whatever feels good, go with that. Go ahead and shake your head yes and no. Maybe find some gentle movement. On your next inhale, we're going to go ahead and place our hands on the mat. We're going to step back into our downward dog. Here for just a second. We're going to inhale our left leg high behind us. Go ahead and bend at the knee here. Open that hip. Let's rotate that ankle 4 times. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and swing it all the way through and plant it on the outside of our hand. Okay, so we're here. We have our left foot on the outside of our left hand. We're gonna drop that back knee, bring that foot down. We're gonna hang out here for just a second. So this is our lizard pose. I know we do this quite a bit in class, but we're gonna stay in this pose just a little bit longer. So finding a spot where you're comfortable. So if you're Christy, you can probably lay all the way down the ground. If you're a normal mobility person, you're probably here or maybe on your forearms. Sorry, Christy, I don't mean to pick on you, but you're so flexible. I do this as my job and I am not as flexible as you. So we're here, and again, if you want to come to your forearms or if you want to stay on your hands, whatever feels like a good stretch for you is where you should stay. So, and you always have the ability to move deeper. So as we're in this pose for a little while, typically it's about 90 seconds. When you hit that 90-second mark, your fascia starts to release and you're able to stretch a little bit deeper. So if you're here and you're like, man, like I'm so close to being able to get my elbows down, but I'm not quite there yet, just give yourself about 1.5 minutes and then you'll probably be able to make it. So I'm not gonna just keep talking this whole time, so we're gonna hang out here. I want you to come back to your breath and really focus, sending that breath into your hip, whatever area is kind of fighting back here. So if it's feeling pretty spicy, keep breathing, sending your breath into that area, imagining it releasing. On your next inhale, If you're on your forearms, come onto your hands. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep this foot here, but we're going to kind of shift back on this leg. So we're keeping this leg nice and straight, and we're gonna sink down into this leg. So you should feel a really good stretch in your hamstring here. Just breathe into that hamstring. If you want to add a little bit of spice here, you can find a bit of movement. If you want to reach those toes and touch them to your mat, but trying to stay nice and low here, you should feel it fire up on the top of your foot. I like to find a little bit of movement in doing this. This is a really difficult area to stretch. So it's not often that we feel a stretch in the top of our foot. So don't go crazy on this or you will get like a top of your foot Charlie horse. But just finding some movement and you're probably like, wow, I didn't know that part of my foot would actually stretch, but it does. Okay, let's go ahead and walk our hands back forward. We're gonna swing this leg around behind us. And then we're gonna pop back up into our downward dog. You might feel a little bit unbalanced here because this leg has been stretched really well at this point and our other leg has not. So we're gonna lift that right leg high, bending at the knee, rotate that ankle, and swing it all the way through and plant on the outside of your right hand, dropping that knee. Perfect. So again, we're gonna be here for just a couple minutes. So finding a spot that's comfortable for you. Well, comfortably uncomfortable, I'll say that. Hopefully you have some music on and you're not just listening to the sound of me breathing. I'm always never sure like how much I should talk because I don't want to just feel like I have to fill silence, but I also don't want you to get too bored. Another crazy thing about, not crazy, but interesting thing about this style of yoga where we stay in poses for a longer amount of time is it's quite the mental game because you have to actually like sit with your thoughts and your breathing and there's really not anything else to think about. You might be thinking about how parts of your body are uncomfortable, but this has been a really good one for me mentally because it forces me to sit and just be with my own thoughts. So music is great and awesome, and I prefer to listen to music, but even when you're listening to music, you still have to deal with the thoughts in your brain. So it's a pretty cool thing to work on. Okay, on your next inhale, hopefully that was the right amount of time, come back onto your hands, and then we're gonna shift our body weight back, straightening this front leg, and sinking into that hamstring. Sorry, that was gross. Again, if you wanna find some movement, and reach those toes towards the ground, sink into your hamstring, reach, and sink, reach, and sink. All right, let's come back all the way forward. We'll swing that leg around. Awesome. And then we're gonna come back onto our base. So you can come back into a sitting position, but I want your feet in front of you. I'm just gonna check my time. Awesome. We're gonna do a couple more things. This isn't gonna be a super long flow today. I want you to be able to have lots of fun time with family and cooking and whatever it is that you wanna do. for your Wednesday. So we're gonna bring our legs out in front of us. Let's take our left leg and bring that foot to the inside of our right thigh. So you can bring that right leg out a little bit wider if you want to, just however feels comfortable. We're gonna bring our arm on the inside of our leg here. So you want your elbow to be touching the ground all the way to your wrist, okay? The goal here is we're gonna have a nice side body stretch. So I'm gonna bring my left arm up and over my body, just until I feel it kind of stop. Okay, a lot of us are gonna be tempted to like reach super far, and what will happen then is you'll round forward, and that's not what we want. We wanna keep our chest nice and lifted, keeping our spine in the line that it's in here. Okay, we don't want it to round forward. Breathe into your side body. All right, and then go ahead and now we'll round all the way through. Come back up. Switch our legs. Bring our arm on the inside, elbow on the ground, wrist on the ground. Inhale, arm up and overhead. Side body stretch. On your next exhale, round all the way through. Okay, we're just gonna bring both of our legs as wide as feels good. We're gonna walk those fingertips all the way forward and let our head hang nice and heavy. We'll walk our hands over to our left foot. Drop our head towards our knee. And then we'll walk our hands towards our right foot, dropping our head towards our knee. And walk our hands back to center. Drop nice and heavy. We'll go ahead and walk our hands back to a seated position. So I'm gonna bring my legs all the way back onto my mat. You're probably already on your mat. So we're gonna lay all the way down, keeping our knees tented here. Okay, so I'm gonna find a spot where I have a good arch here. We're gonna do a few rounds of bridge, so I feel like my spine could use a little bit of movement before we're all done today. So as I inhale, I'm gonna peel my hips off of the ground, pull them all the way up. And as I exhale, I'm gonna bring my spine down one vertebrae at a time, nice and slow. And then again on my next inhale, peeling up from my base, one vertebrae at a time. Exhale, releasing one vertebrae at a time. We're gonna do this one more time. Peeling up. And releasing. bring our feet out long in front of us. Bring our arms up over our head. We're gonna interlace our fingers, pressing them out, and we'll take a full body stretch all the way from our tippy fingertips all the way to the bottoms of our toes. And then just release. Find a comfortable position. Maybe you're laying down all the way. If you want to tent those feet again and let those knees come towards each other, that can feel really good if you have any kind of uncomfortable feelings in your back. Just whatever feels good. Just return back to that mindful breath. Come back to that thing that you're thankful for, that thing that brings you some gratitude today. It'll just fill you up, fill you with joy. This is just one of the many things that give you gratitude. And I want you to think about that thing that you could use just a little bit more of. Maybe you got a little of it during our practice today. Maybe it's something that you can get later. Think about a way that you can receive that thing that you need. A lot of times we get stuck wanting things that we can either never have, or we just think about things that we want. We don't think about ways to actually get them. I want you to think about whatever it is that you could use some more of. What's something that you can do today to actually get that? Take some time for yourself. Ask someone for it. Go get it. Whatever that thing is, make it happen. And then it'll give you a little something extra to fill yourself with gratitude. On your next inhale, let's go ahead and roll into a fetal position on either side. And then your next inhale, let's go ahead and press into our mat, and we'll meet back in a seated position with our hands at heart center. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day to share in this practice with me. I'm extremely thankful for each and every one of you and for this opportunity that I have to share my passion and my practice with each one of you. Let's bring our thumbs to our foreheads to remind us to think kind thoughts. Bring our thumbs to our lips to remind us to speak uplifting words. And bring our hands to heart center to remind us to hold love in our hearts for ourselves and others always. Namaste. I hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving, and I look forward to posting another video on Sunday. So have a wonderful weekend, stay safe, wash your hands, do all that kind of stuff. Bye, everybody.